News out yesterday that Mark Zuckerberg is cutting spending on the MetaVerse. Early reports have that it's going to be 30% of the budget for Reality Labs. In this video, I'm going to talk about why that's not just a big deal for MetaVerse spending, but for AI spending as well, and for our valuation of the company. This news hasn't come as a massive surprise for me, because despite how he's portrayed on social media, Zuckerberg does not seem to me to be some sort of tyrant. If we look at some of his history, in the early days of Facebook, he gave up a lot of operational control to Sheryl Sandberg when it became clear that he did not have the experience to run the company. Then, despite him not believing in mobile, believing that the future of Facebook was as an online platform, when it became clear he was wrong, they pivoted, and they pivoted hard. And of course, over the last couple of years, continuing up to yesterday, there has been this change in direction on the metaverse, something that Zuckerberg believed so strongly in, he even changed the name of the company. It's this history that gives me some confidence in Zuckerberg's willingness to change direction, that I am not as concerned about this massive capex spend that has a lot of the market panicking. Don't get me wrong, I am not completely convinced that AI is worth this spend. I do think they could perhaps use AI rather than build AI. But knowing that they are willing to change their mind, willing to change direction, means that this capex spend could shrink back over 1 or 2 years, and it would just be, I say just, a 100 or 200 million bump in the road. With all of that in mind, I'm going to look at what I believe are the two most likely outcomes for the future of Meta and do two different discount cash flows on both of those possibilities. Those possibilities are, first of all, AI does not work out as they hope. They do have to cut back spending. That's one. The second possibility then, AI works out pretty good and they get increased growth because of it. If we look at the first possibility, the idea that they will reduce capex if they are not getting the growth they are looking for. I've penciled in growth for the next 12 months of 15%. That's because they're already guiding to quite high growth for the next 12 months. After that, I have the growth coming down significantly. But remember, they're still a growing company. The world's population is still growing. The world's population is still getting richer. That means people are spending on advertising. So I have okay growth going forward down to a terminal growth rate of 5%. Next up, we have EBITDA margins. Currently, they're a little constrained due to the massive capex and depreciation that's coming from that. But I have it growing over the next 8 years up to nearly 50%, terminal EBITDA of 49%. Tax rate, I have no great insight on, so we'll keep it pretty much where it is at the moment, increasing it slightly. Next up, we have reinvestment, which is capex minus depreciation. I have that shrinking significantly. That is because the current capex depreciation will take a good few years to run through the system. I don't think it will be this low all the time. As you can see, I have a terminal reinvestment rate of about 36 billion. That's based on a return on invested capital of around 20%. Then I have a discount rate of 10% falling back to a more historical number of 8%. Put all those calculations through, we get an adjusted free cash flow. Next up, we can look at the more fun possibility, the idea that this AI spend will be successful. Again, I've given them good growth in the next 12 months because they're guiding for it. Even better with the idea that AI will be successful. And that growth rate will continue for the next multiple years. I, of course, have it falling off to some terminal rate, but that terminal rate is slightly higher than in the previous scenario. The big difference we get then is in EBITDA. EBITDA will stay constrained at this 40%. There is high capex right now. That will likely fall as revenue grows. Just as a comparison to revenue, it nearly has to fall. And we can see that down in the reinvestment rate. It will stay mostly stable. That's actually a falling reinvestment when compared to revenue. The terminal reinvestment rate is based on only a 15% return on invested capital because it should be harder in a more capital intensive business. And once again, we have the same discount rates. We do the calculations and we get an adjusted free cash flow. Once we crunch the numbers for the cutback scenario, we get a valuation of $861. And for the more exciting AI succeeds model, we get a valuation of over $1,100. But what do we do with that? Which is more likely? Which is going to happen? I don't know, but to help me think about it, I like to use a weighted average model. So what I have here is 4 possibilities. We talked in depth about 2 of them, but I've added 2 extra smaller chance possibilities. The idea that AI will be even more successful, I've put this as a 10% chance, but that'll be valued at $2,000. I think I could have probably gone higher on that one. And at the other end, I have the possibility that Meta collapses into nothing. Maybe Zuckerberg goes crazy and does spend all the money widely. Maybe a competitor comes in. We don't know. But I'll throw out a 10% chance that Meta go to 0. That leaves the 2 things we talked about. As you can see, I think the cutback scenario is slightly more likely. I've put it as a 50% chance overall, with the AI success story at a 30% chance. And if you put all those numbers together, we get a total valuation of $965. With the current price at around $660, that's about a 45% upside. And it's for that reason that Meta makes up about 12.5% of my portfolio. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you'd like to see me do more valuations of companies in my portfolio or any companies in general, like and subscribe, and hopefully you'll see them in your feed, or drop me a comment and make a specific request. Okay, thank you for watching and have a great day.